Welcome to another little tale, hopefully you may enjoy it. Without further ado, let's go. Title: The Shell That Fell from the Sky. The egg fell on a windless night, cutting through the clouds without flame or thunder. It landed deep in a field beyond the last street lamp of a small town. A girl walking home from an early shift at a bakery noticed the disturbance. Her name was Myra. She had just turned 18 years of age. Myra stood at 5 feet 9 inches. Her hair was light brown, sun-touched from long days outdoors. And her build was lean and agile from walking everywhere rather than taking buses. She paused at the broken earth. Something pale lay in the center of the crater. The shell was the size of a large backpack, fractured along glowing seams. It looked like porcelain, but softer, with faint veins of silver running through it. Inside, something moved. Myra knelt cautiously and brushed soil away. A small creature unfolded slowly from the broken shell. It was roughly the length of her forearm, its body sleek and flexible like a cross between a reptile and a bird hatchling. Its skin shimmered with fine scales that shifted color from deep blue to gray depending on the light. Where eyes should have been were two large reflective lenses that glowed softly. It made a quiet clicking sound. The species had clearly evolved for egg incubation. Its limbs were delicate but precise, ending in small gripping claws. Along its spine ran thin feather-like structures that lifted slightly when it breathed. It looked at Myra. She stared back. The creature tilted its head and produced a soft sequence of clicks and hums. Something about the sound vibrated in her chest more than in her ears. "Okay," Myra whispered, mostly to herself. "That's definitely not normal." The hatchling shivered. Above them a distant engine roared. A low military aircraft passed overhead, scanning the countryside. Myra suddenly realized how visible the crater was. She quickly gathered the hatchling into her jacket and pushed the broken shell into a nearby ditch. "Let's not be here when someone notices," she muttered. The creature made another soft clicking sound as if in agreement. First close call. They barely made it out of the field before the first vehicles appeared. Two dark trucks rolled down the farm road, tires crunching gravel. Myra ducked behind the hedgerow, pressing herself into the leaves while holding the small alien close against her chest. The creature remained strangely calm. 4 men stepped out of the trucks carrying scanners that emitted faint blue beams across the soil. One of them stopped only a few meters away. "Impact was somewhere here," he said. Another replied, "Thermal traces are fading." Myra didn't move. Even breathing felt too loud. The hatchling's skin shifted color until it matched the green shadow around them. The scanners swept closer. One beam passed so near that Myra could see dust glowing in the light. A moment later the device flickered and produced a burst of static. "Signal interference again," one man muttered. "Same as last night." They searched the field for nearly 15 minutes before the trucks eventually drove away. Myra waited another 10 minutes before standing. The creature looked up at her. "Yeah," she whispered, heart still racing. "That was close." The first day. By midday they had crossed 2 fields and a quiet rural road. The hatchling began to show signs of fatigue. It clung weakly to Myra's sleeve, while making slow pulsing sounds. She noticed faint markings along its side that resembled a map of stars. The realization came slowly. This egg didn't just fall randomly, did it? The creature responded with a gentle glow from the markings. That night Myra hid inside an abandoned barn. Myra gently removed the hatchling from her jacket and took out the pastries she had purchased from her work's canteen. She offered a small piece of cookie to the alien baby. Outside of the old abandoned barn, Myra found an old milking bucket and filled it with fresh water from the still active well pump. The hatchling curled up inside the remains of her backpack and entered a deep stillness that resembled sleep. Outside, the wind moved through tall grass. The stars above seemed unusually bright. Second close call. The next morning they traveled through the forest. Sunlight filtered between branches while the ground remained soft with moss. For several hours they walked without seeing anyone. Then dogs began barking in the distance. Voices followed. Myra froze. Through the trees she saw uniformed search teams spreading across the forest line. Drones buzzed overhead like mechanical insects. She crouched behind a fallen log and wrapped the hatchling in her scarf. One drone drifted toward them. Its lens rotated slowly. The hatchling opened its eyes and released a faint vibration that Myra could feel through her hands. The drone's motors suddenly stuttered. It wobbled in the air before drifting off course and crashing softly into a cluster of branches. A searcher shouted. Drone 3 just went down. Footsteps approached. Myra waited until the voices were only a few steps away before slipping quietly along the log and crawling down a narrow ditch that led deeper into the forest. The team passed by without noticing them. The second night. They walked until dusk. By then Myra had pieced together the pattern of stars on the hatchling's side. Every few hours the markings shifted slightly, always pointing in the same direction. North. Late that night they reached a ridge overlooking a quiet valley. The hatchling climbed onto a rock and spread the thin feather-like structures along its spine. They caught starlight and shimmered faintly. A low humming sound echoed across the valley. Somewhere far above, something responded. Third close call. Just before dawn, headlights appeared on the distant road. Several vehicles stopped at the base of the ridge. Searchlights cut through the darkness. Myra grabbed the hatchling and slid behind a cluster of boulders as soldiers climbed the slope. Their boots crunched on loose stones. One beam swept across the rock only seconds after Myra had moved. She and the hatchling hid inside a narrow gap between two stones. While the searchers scanned the ridge, the alien's skin again shifted color, blending with the cold gray surface. A soldier stepped right beside the gap. For a long moment he simply stood there, breathing heavily in the cold air. Then his radio crackled. Negative contact, someone said from below. The soldier turned and walked away. Myra waited until the searchlights disappeared beyond the hill before exhaling. The third day. Morning light spread across the valley. They traveled quickly now. The hatchling seemed stronger, moving more confidently across the ground, and occasionally climbing onto Myra's shoulder to look toward the sky. By late afternoon they reached the center of the valley. The grass there had been flattened in a wide circle. The air vibrated faintly. The hatchling walked forward alone. Its markings glowed bright silver. Final close call. A final helicopter appeared suddenly over the hills. Wind tore across the valley as it descended. Myra grabbed the hatchling, unsure whether to run or stay. The craft hovered low. For a moment it looked exactly like the search helicopters from before. Then the hull shifted. Panels opened like petals. Light poured down onto the field. The hatchling wriggled free and stepped into the beam. Myra stood frozen. Figures moved inside the craft, tall silhouettes with the same feathered spines and reflective eyes. The hatchling turned once more toward Myra. It produced the soft clicking sound she had first heard in the field. Then it climbed into the light. The beam lifted. The craft rose silently into the clouds. Within seconds it was gone. The valley fell quiet again. Myra stood alone in the flattened grass as dawn spread across the horizon. After a while she started walking home. Far above, something new moved among the stars, heading safely away. Thank you for listening to our little tale. I hope it entertained you a little. Until next time, as always, be well.